Hello and welcome to Blazecast. My name is Brian Krogsgaard, here with the one and only Josh Olswich. Josh, how you doing?
Brian, good to be here. Good to be with you. Good to be back.
It is good to be back. We haven't chatted in a few weeks. The world has fallen apart in the meantime. But, we had Thanksgiving plans and holidays and trips, and so we didn't get to chat the last few weeks. But I hope you're well. How's it going?
Good. Just trying to avoid landmines everywhere, right?
I know, man. It's like, am I in the contagion?
Am I the contagion? Am I contributing? I mean, Jesus, everything that's going on, it's just like enough's enough. I felt the same way with Do Kwon.
Oh yeah,
the Do Kwon stuff wasn't a surprise though. That's what really is different about this FTX thing. Like,
yeah, how much?
We knew Alameda wasn't on our side. We knew they were trading against customers. I mean, people just knew that. What we didn't know is they were commingling funds. They didn't have an accounting department. They didn't have a board. I certainly didn't, right? There might have been people who knew and didn't care. I don't know. We didn't know they were marking their FTT position to whatever they marked it to, illiquid serum. Like, the list goes on and on. But that I think is the most surprising. The commingling of the funds. Zero people expected them to be insolvent. Most people expected them to be illiquid, but it's the degree of insolvency and the flagrancy of it all is just like, okay, this is too much.
Yeah. The flagrancy of it, I think, is the interesting part there.
And this PR, like, charm offensive or whatever you want to call it, is just like, what is going on? Like, are you watching the same movie I'm watching? Because this is not congruent with what happened. Like, this is a crime. I'm not a lawyer. But what is going on? Right? Like, everybody's asking, like, what is this? And then you got this whole like political angle with donations involved on both sides potentially, and it's so ugly. It's so ugly.
Yeah. I thought of the interviews. Andrew Ross Sorkin from the Deal Book interview was one of the better ones. I don't know if you saw it, but
I started to watch. I can't listen to Sam anymore. I could barely listen to him before, but knowing what he's done, I just can't sit through it.
In that Spaces the other night, a bunch of people were pushing for him to come on Up Only, and we weren't really planning to reach out to him because you're just kind of putting a scammer on the air. And Kobe had answered, like, at this point, the other interviews are so bad that he would be interested in doing it just to be able to ask questions from the point of view of an insider. And apparently Sam responded that he would do it. So we may be interviewing him. And I don't even know how I feel about it, to be honest. Like,
I mean, if you do, you just have to ask him very specific, pointed questions.
Right.
And, if he's willing to, like, fucking be on the stand, basically, right? Then sure. Like, if he's willing to do that, why not, right? Like, ask him, right. Why didn't you close Alameda? Why are you commingling funds? This is illegal, right? Like, just basic stuff.
Yeah. So we'll see if that happens or not. Part of me just would have to hold back from just wanting to yell at him for like 10 minutes straight.
Are you delusional? Have you been seen by a psychologist, psychiatrist? Like, what other medications are you taking? What other drugs were you taking? Like, what day is it? Who's the president? Right? Person, place, time. Like, are you insane?
Are you concussed?
Are you pushing for the insanity defense because you're obviously delusional? Like, what?
Yeah. So I'll spend some time on that if it turns out to be true that we're doing it. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like, other than the fact that it would be my opportunity to ask him those questions, it's getting harder and harder to listen to him. But I don't know if our audience wants us to talk to him and we can do something that's differentiated, then I guess we would. Nevertheless, so obviously all that's impacted markets significantly, and a lot of individuals.
We got the people out of the woodwork going after crypto anything, right? And it's like somebody shit on your bed and you have to sleep in it. That's what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, that's gross.
It's true. It's like, people that's like the business story of the year, like the VC story of the year. Like it's so high profile that everybody's heard of it, right? At Thanksgiving, I'm sure.
Yeah, everybody's asked me.
Right.
Did you do
did you know this guy? Did you have any funds there?
Did you do Thanksgiving at your new house that's behind you in this picture?
This is I bought this in the metaverse, so
okay,
no,
good.
I did not do it at my new house, but
it's nice looking. For our audio only listeners, Josh has a beautiful home in the background of his video.
It's a nice indoor-outdoor space.
Yeah. It reminds me. So maybe there's an NFL fan out there, but it reminds me of the NFL draft from a couple of years ago, where now I forgot his name. I just said it, but the coach that had the like super swanky house, and they were doing the COVID draft from like everyone's living rooms and stuff. So they kept showing him in that environment, and it looks a lot like what your house does right there. So that's what I thought of initially. But anyway, so shall we talk about markets a little bit in terms of, can you find the FTX blow up on the chart? Yes, it was the Cardinals.
That's the other thing. Like, if someone had told you a year ago in 2021, all these events happened, right? Celsius, 3AC, Luna, Contagion, FTX, right? There's going to be more, possibly Genesis, possibly GBTC, something, right? And we don't know the details exactly, but let's assume there's more, right? Where would you put price at?
3K, 6K.
I'd assume 10 or less, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's some resiliency we can take away from this, price-wise.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it doesn't. This looks like something, but this doesn't look representative to what actually happened. The move from 20K to 16, was not huge considering what occurred in that move.
You could say, well, a lot of the deleveraging already happened on the way down. That's fair. You could say, well, this is crypto, not Bitcoin. And I kind of agree. I mean, look at Solana, or look at a Solana BTC chart or whatever.
And look at that in terms of like what impact did FTX have? They didn't own any Bitcoin.
Right. I think so. Here's what I think. I think that all of this has a greater effect sort of on the way up, as there is just dilution of capital, there's dilution of attention, there's rehypothecation all over the place.
Yeah, the essentially people thought they had Bitcoin on FTX. FTX didn't have Bitcoin on FTX. So maybe the outperformance of so many altcoins relative 100%. To Bitcoin was because of that rehypothecation.
Yeah, I'd agree with that completely.
So I did put Bitcoin in a linear mode just so we could get a slightly different view of the degree of what we've had. So it's more significant when you account for it that way, like relative to 2017, for example. It's pretty on par. In terms of a percent move,
so it's around 76%, I think.
77% top to bottom. So it's not like it's not like it couldn't be a bottom, but considering the amount of failure that we've had, the durability of Bitcoin's been fairly impressive, I guess.
Yeah, just the question is who's left. The next biggest thing that everyone's looking at, obviously GBTC and what's going on there, and
what's going to happen to Barry,
and that contagion, which still hasn't been fully figured out. But
yeah, it seems like Genesis is screwed out of this deal. It just is like who else is, but it's not like Genesis is going to be able to perform their previous business roles anytime soon.
Yeah, the credit market in crypto is just kind of over for the moment, I think.
Yeah. However, I do think Genesis had certain regulatory approvals that just nobody else had, like a prime broker thing. I don't know really what all that means or stands for, but they were important, I guess, from an institutional perspective. But that doesn't mean that what they were important for, that there's any activity of happening now. So will it have fallout or not? We're not sure. I do think one interesting component is most of these people didn't just shut up and like try to figure it out in the background during their drama. Barry has not said a word,
Yeah.
Genesis made some announcements as they were going along, but for the most part, Barry, like,
well, the entirety of the Gem I Earn program is they owe money to that entire thing. Like that's 700 million, right?
yeah, something like that.
I just don't know how the creditors aren't like, okay, guys. I don't know. I don't know how any of this works. I know what people know on Twitter. That's about it. So
yeah, so
we're watching the same thing unravel together.
Utoin on chat. Thank you. It was Cliff Kingsbury who I was trying to remember his name. And then I think we got another interesting question here from Haradas. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. What about CZ and Binance? Should we trust them? Okay, here's the thing. Should we trust them? The answer is just always going to be, Josh.
No.
No. Now, is that a claim against CZ and Binance? No, they're probably one of the better places to do business. But should you trust them? No, you can't trust anybody. That's the whole point. Like the erosion of trust has been extraordinary, and we should probably carry the stance of a skeptic for quite a long time, and maybe perpetually. Like this is where maximalists are made, but this is also where your defense mechanisms come in for, okay, yes, I'll trust them, but I won't trust them with everything. I won't trust anyone with everything. So when I've historically talked about the Horcrux method, that's what that's about, like managing your custody in multiple places, because you don't want any one place to be able to kill you. Even yourself, like if you have 100% of everything on your own one hardware wallet in your own custody with your own failure routes, that's trusting yourself in a way that maybe you shouldn't. So spread it out, figure it out, try to do your best, and don't trust anyone. Just limit your risk in the scenario where you do give someone some degree of trust, that it's not all of your trust.
Yeah, I mean, we get kind of sick of, well, at least I did, saying like, not your keys, not your coins for 10 years.
Now look where we are.
Like I can only say it so many times without people being like, yeah, whatever, we get it. Let's go trade some altcoins on FTX, But don't get complacent. This will happen probably again to some degree somewhere, as much as I hate to say that.
Well, I think there's some places that are trying to be very quiet right now so that they can work their way out of insolvency, but they're probably also running on a fractional reserve right now, and we just don't know exactly who they are.
I mean, if you're worried about it, we have the technology. It's called a hardware wallet. It's called a software wallet, right? Like do whatever you need to do, figure it out. It's not hard. It's not scary, I promise. Been doing it for a long time.
My longest amount of time on a centralized exchange these past weeks has been like minutes, like just to get the deed done for whatever I needed to do.
And we see that in the data too, because we're seeing BTC down 200,000 notional since like November 11th, so less than a month. 200,000 BTC has been removed. ETH, I think it's 2 million ETH off of exchanges in the same time period.
Wow.
Like it's extraordinary. We haven't seen this low level of ETH on exchanges since 2018 when ICOs were sort of ending.
With ETH in particular, why do you need it? You don't even have to trust, like WBTC is the best way. Is there a better way to trade BTC other than WBTC? But you can't really trust WBTC or REN BTC. We saw these kind of concerns about wrapped assets.
I wouldn't trust wrappers. I wouldn't trust bridges. I wouldn't trust anything that isn't.
But with native ETH, like beyond your swap, it's not really a big deal. Like you do your swap and then you have your native asset on ETH. So it's easy to be on chain on ETH. ETH BTC too looks like it's just hammering that ceiling again.
Yeah, it's something I definitely want to talk about in a second. I'm just trying to find this ETH number.
Yeah,
I can't share my screen because it freezes. In case people are wondering, it's for some reason it freezes the stream. I'm going to blame Ledger, but
but the point is a lot of ETH has left exchanges and is now.
So here we are. Okay, November 3rd, 23.3 million ETH on exchanges. Today, 19.7 million.
Wow.
So nothing. That's nothing compared to what it was.
Yeah,
at the peak in let's say the COVID high was basically the peak at 32.7 million ETH.
So 20% of exchange ETH found its way out.
Poof. I mean, a lot of that's FTX, I'm sure, but that's still in the calculation regardless.
Yeah.
Well, the point is that price would be much lower if people were just dumping their ETH on exchanges and selling, right? Any crypto. That's the general signal. Is historically, if you're sending ETH to centralized exchanges or BTC or whatever, it's to sell it. You're not sending it there for any other reason.
Yeah,
Historically,
in terms of wrapped assets, we're worried about, y'all. I'm not trying to say I'm worried about wrapped ETH. That's a different type of wrapped asset.
I mean, anything, like, you don't know, right? Like right now,
it's a smart contract.
Nothing should surprise anybody. I thought, right? Like, I
There's
don't care. Like at this
There's no
point,
central.
at this point,
You heard it here.
Nothing would surprise me. Literally nothing.
Josh Switch says no wrapped ETH for him.
If you don't need to be, like, do your business. What does Lop say? Like, pretend it's a public restroom. You just said it too. Like, do your business and get out as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, if I wouldn't sit in anything that you don't need to sit in that has some risk for losing whatever to whatever, right? Staked ETH, whatever.
But staked ETH is different, but I think wrapped ETH is just fine. So yeah, Bitcoin's sitting here almost 17K. One of the challenging things is it's giving me flashbacks to 2018, 2019. I don't know if it is for you, but it's like now the so-called big move is just not very significant. So there's so much repair that has to be done in terms of a chart sense or a price perspective before you start to be a believer. Like at this point, I think actually you really need way over 20K, like maybe 24K before you talk about bull markets and recovery. And I just feel like best case scenario is a really long-term range now. Or capitulation. Capitulation still seems like it's very possible. I'm not saying we don't go up. I'm just saying, does anything structurally change between 17K and 19 or 20K? And the answer to me is not really. Do you see that differently?
No, I agree. That's the 20 and the 200 you have there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is what I pointed out as well, is like zooming way out. We need to be above both of those things. We need a bullish cross on that. Like, those should be everybody's top three things, no matter what you're trading in crypto, because BTC will lead the pack eventually. ETH is going to have higher beta, and like all these other coins are going to have higher beta. I get it, but BTC sets the stage, so it needs to be above just the basic trend metrics, like the 20 and the 200 on the weekly.
Yeah.
In order to expect continuation of the upside. Here, I think it's neutral or bearish for sure, like no question.
Yeah, but same thing here. If you're looking at that weekly cloud, it's like 20K is just a bearish retest of the trend, which is
right. And if you compare this to like 2018 or 2015, like as blown out as the TK, the Tenkin, and the Kijun are on the cloud, it still takes weeks for that to catch up, right? If you go to 2015, it took a whole year, So it's possible that we kind of get our stuff figured out in 2023, get ready for the halving in 2024, which is currently March 2024.
Yeah, but this time period here that looks like nothing was a year of painful chop.
Yeah, I mean, it was a year of chop. It was a year of announcements that people thought were going to mean something that didn't amount to much of anything. Yeah, I remember that time well.
It is worth saying though, that, like, we are if we go further down, you're getting deeper and deeper into just value buy territory, right? Like, there's really,
I would think so, certainly. I mean, look, the previous two bear markets were negative 85%. Negative 85 from the top is like 10K. So, sure. I think DCAers are fine. I think bids at 10K or lower are fine. I think bids on ETH anywhere near 800 or less are fine. I don't think we get that low, but if we do, I mean, sure. Why not?
Yeah. I drew this, what'd you call it? This sickle of death.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's a Josh style That's not bad. You know, the SPX kind of has a similar triangle, I guess you'd call it.
Mostly just to identify some potential for momentum swings or capitulation opportunity.
Well, it's crazy how close we were to breaking out of that at 20
Yeah.
when before FTX blew up. Like we were on our way, especially into what was that, CPI or
I mean, there's tragedy in all this, Josh. You know what it is.
Yeah, this too. I was looking at this morning again, as I do every day, and I was like, well, we're down from 115 to 105 on the DXY, and we should be mega mooning.
The
But we got time.
The Dixie makes you think, oh, Bitcoin's at 30K, right? You know, like that we broke from 20 down to up to 30, and instead we broke from 20 down to 15 thanks to FTX. You know, this is what we were waiting on in terms of a real trend break in our favor.
We've decoupled in the unfavorable, unfavorable manner for sure.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you. Yeah, so I was at some point looking for a move back down into this green box that I've had highlighted for years. Historically, these have marked the beginning of bull markets, like these big trend shifts, which you would be able to mark another one here in October 2022. And maybe in the long term, it'll be very close to the bottom, and that'll be true. I don't know, but you would certainly think we're not like basically at the lows right now if you're just looking at this Dixie chart.
No, and you could say, well, maybe there's some divergence there that you could take advantage of that the market hasn't quite gotten the message.
Looking at that weekly Keishan is interesting too, right there at 104 coming up. I haven't looked at the cloud in quite a while. I'm going to admit, Josh, we haven't talked, and so I hadn't turned the cloud on, and I feel like I'm finding some new things here. Is there anything else? I mean, we just looked at the Dixie. You were talking about SPX. Is there any?
Really, it's just the daily cloud everywhere on anything is important right now because we're kind of banging up against it again. The other thing that we mentioned, the 200 week and the 20 week on Bitcoin is incredibly important, I think. And then the 200 day on SPX is important too because we tend to be higher. BTC is higher beta to SPX. So if SPX turns the corner, which I don't know if it necessarily will over a long period of time, but if it starts to, which it's trying right now, it's above the 200 for the first time since what, April 2022, March.
Yeah, March.
So which was a fake out. It was, yeah. I would watch for all those signs of some relief here. We're already seeing it from the DXY.
And I like when you see it in combination. You see the daily, and then you look at the weekly, and it's got its own kind of support that it bounced off of, trend shift on that 20 week. Like you're seeing that 20 week turn up, and you're potentially going to make a higher high, shifting which side of the 20 week you're on. That's all good stuff. I got something. What would you think about this, Josh? Well, not that. What if we made ourselves some kind of head and shoulders type of thing here? I feel like legacy markets would enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean that's possible. Gives us more time.
Yeah.
I think 2023, like what? We have a recession. Is that bullish? We get more unemployment. Yeah. Is that bullish? Like
I just feel like 2023 is going to be kind of a nothing burger of a year for tradable assets. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I saw, speaking of insolvent illiquid stuff, I saw Blackstone real estate fund close withdrawals in a fund because it like exceeded their maximum. People are getting out of real estate stuff because it's plummeting, and I assume their market position is so big that if they had to sell more, they would have a catastrophic effect on the fund, right? So
well, it's a duration problem for them, right? They would need to respond so quickly that they'd have to sell underlying assets versus just manage normal inflows and outflows. And they would have an outsized effect on the market if they do so.
Right. So there's a lot of distress in many places right now.
Yeah.
When I was reading some of these questions, thank you, by the way, everybody, for YouTubing and Twitching.
Welcoming us back. Did you have?
Go ahead, sorry.
Do you have any big thoughts about ETH making a higher low and being in this kind of big consolidation versus Bitcoin's lower low and all that?
Not really on the ETH-USD side of things. I think the whole chart's kind of a mess. I think ETH BTC is the cleaner chart here, which is saying much.
Rare from this man to say that.
This to me looks like a slam dunk long trade. The fundamentals are there. It's not a USD pair, so it has some potential strength.
0.1 gang.
Yeah, 0.1. The thing is, like, if you're bearish and you assume ETH has higher beta, you assume ETH BTC is going to go down. That may not be the case. I'm more on that side of the argument where if we're bearish, I don't think ETH BTC is going to do well. But if we're bullish or neutral, I think ETH BTC does extremely well. It's got the fundamentals of the supply soak Ponzi-nomics going on.
The supply soak.
It's got the fee burn, which is kind of like whatever at this point, neutral. But then the unlock is scheduled for like March 2023, which is going to get pushed back 100%. There's no doubt in my mind. I'll take the over on that all day. So let's say it gets pushed back to, like, I don't know, July. Let's say it gets pushed back to March 2024, right? That's Bitcoin's having. So I can imagine a world where, no, let me blow your mind if you're listening.
2024, good year.
I could imagine a world where ETH flips BTC on the market cap chart. I could imagine a world when that happens. I think that's like 0.4 BTC, ETH BTC at that point.
No, 0.14.
No, we don't flip BTC at 0.14, do we?
He just said we don't flip.
Maybe it's 0.28.
No, the flipping's at 0.28.
Whatever that level is, 0.28 would make more sense than 0.4.
Somebody needs to make winflippening.com.
It already exists. I've been to it. It exists. Because the market cap is 4x less, right? So maybe it's 0.28. That'd be even better.
Okay.
Let's just assume that the staking unlock gets pushed back into late 2023. Most optimistic. Most pessimistic is like 2024. Whatever. I could see a world where
ETH is already half of Bitcoin's market cap, or almost half. It's 0.14. It's like 0.14, 0.15. The whole chat saying 0.14.
Okay.
CoinGecko has the numbers.
I swear it was a quarter.
155 million for ETH, 155 billion for ETH, and 326 billion for Bitcoin. So let's just call it a little under half right now. So 0.14, 0.15, it's over, baby. Number one.
That makes the setup even better because I think it's going there anyway. So here's what I think. Here's what I think is going to happen. You ready? This is the playbook. ETH BTC is going to break out. The staking unlock is not going to happen on March 23rd. It's probably going to happen end of the year 2023. We're probably going to like plateau-ish going into that date, decline a little bit, and then ETH BTC is going to get slaughtered post BTC halving because the narrative is going to shift. Even though the issuance is going to be maybe more favorable for ETH, I think the narrative is going to shift. So I think you're going to see like this roller coaster of like, we beat BTC. We're on the top of the list finally, right? BTC's dead. What does it do? It's a rock, blah, blah, blah. And then I think you're going to see BTC take over.
Well,
that's my playbook. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns.
I would love that. I would love to participate in that.
I think there's no doubt that ETH, unfortunately, as much as I think ETH is captured Garbo, OFAC nonsense, there's no doubt in my mind it goes to previous all-time highs, which would be a flippening, right? 0.14, are you saying?
Yeah, the chat is begging us to stop talking about the flippening because they're lying.
I mean, look, the trade is good. The technicals are there. This is a 600-day range that we've been in on ETH BTC. That's insane.
Long one.
It's above trend metrics. It looks phenomenal. If you look at fundamentals, because of the staking supply soak and the fee burn, blah blah blah, right? The whole narrative is there. The DeFi narrative with like DEXs becoming more popular, non-custodial stuff, like the whole thing just makes sense to me. I think the alternative layer 1 trade is kind of dead for the time being. So yeah, I think it does really well against BTC, and for that reason, that's my case. That's my playbook.
Let's do it.
I think it's the easiest trade setup in the next year, honestly.
Have you seen my ETH BTC parabola?
I haven't, but I like it.
Yeah. Boy, I don't even know if I'd be happy or sad.
What
I'd be sad. My buying power is not what it once was to make this trade exciting, but I would still enjoy it because it gives you a rotation that you can actually make to try to trade and be happy about it.
Well, here's the other thing: if GBTC gets sold off, like this is like so many ifs down the road. If there's some Genesis stuff that happens, if DCG is involved, if they have to sell their GBTC position, that may have an outsized effect on BTC relative to ETH. Assuming they don't have to sell their ETH position, which I don't even know they have, right? Assuming the market just isn't just generally bearish on all that anyway. Like, I don't know. This is another, like, just in the near term, like the catalyst that could happen for all this to start to kick off. But
do you think DeFi would have an opportunity to outperform as either before or after that an ETH move like that? This is Aave relative to ETH for anyone wondering. It's been basing for a year or more after.
I don't know why a lot of these coins exist at all. So it's hard for me to say, like, yeah.
But if you look at the charts, if you look at the charts, you see this basing occurring on some of the better ones.
I hear you. How do you beat ETH when it's deflationary or when it's got these Ponzi-nomics, Sokonomics, whatever you want to call it, right? How do you beat that? Link has a chance because it's also allegedly, eventually, before I'm dead.
All right, tell me this. Wow. Tell me this isn't a great chart.
I can't see the ticker. What is that?
That's Uni relative to ETH.
You
like it in a vacuum. You like this chart.
No, I agree. But again, it's like this is the fundamental. It's the DEX moment, right? This is the DEX moment to shine.
Yeah.
If there's any time ever historically in a history of cryptocurrency, this is the time. It exists. It already is ready to go. When Gox blew up, it didn't exist. When Bitfinex had issues, it didn't exist. It exists now. So if it's going to do something, it's definitely now. Again, like, you have to look at issuance. You have to look at tokenomics of that stuff, because sure, you could be bullish on Uni till you're blue in the face, but it might not matter if the emissions are so high that you just get bled to death.
I don't know. This looks like number go up. How are you getting me bullish on this on DeFi? You're all in on the flippening. Who is this person? Are you Josh's evil twin brother?
You can't look at all this stuff and think DeFi at least has a purpose, right? Like, you may think DeFi is the reason we're here, which is me 100%. Like, if Anchor never existed, if all these shit coins that got spun up never existed in the name of DeFi, right, we wouldn't be where we're at today. But the stuff that is here and works and is consistent, yeah, it has a chance. Like, look at that Link chart. Link USD looks amazing.
Yeah, it's just been consolidating for so long.
So this could have a chance against ETH if there's some, I don't know, the staking roadmap or whatever. Like, I'm sick of hearing about it at this point, but this could win out against ETH.
Well, if ETH does a flippening, is it because ETH is 1K and Bitcoin's at like 8K or 7K or whatever that ratio is? Or is it because ETH is at, 3K and Bitcoin's at 20K?
No, I really don't think we have a bullish. I don't think we have a bearish flippening. I don't think, ETH breaks 1,000 again. I think it's going to get ugly.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think ETH wins in that scenario. But we've got this window, right? This next until the Bitcoin halving, which I may be too bullish on that relative to the ETH BTC pair, but let's just assume that the halving will have the narrative take over. Until that date, ETH BTC long all day.
Let me ask you this. What do you think the odds are that the bottom is in for Bitcoin and ETH?
The bottom?
Bottom.
Can I say greater than 50%?
Yeah, of course. That's pretty strong likelihood.
It's not too safe, is it?
No. That's that's better than I would give it.
We just look so good. I'm thinking like what else, right? There's macro, which is just the Fed is continually on our neck, and yeah, they may go 50 next month, but they're still going 50. A hike is still a hike regardless. We've got CPI on the 13th, which if that thing is elevated in any way, good night markets. So you better hope CPI is at the very least flat or down. Unemployment today, NFP or whatever, was already better than expected. That's why markets kind of puked. But like, what else is left, right? It's just the Genesis stuff. I don't know what other big things that like the known unknowns that are left,
Yeah.
That could like blow us up. Because like who's left? Who's left that hasn't already sold or is like, redeeming out of whatever, right? Like who's left?
What people love to say though at the bottom is like I just see this one more big puking, and then I'll be
I mean, but wasn't that FTX? I feel like that was FTX.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's always what people say when they're bearish at the bottom is they just one more and then I'll be bullish. And then the painful scenario in that outcome is you missed the bottom and now you have to chase. And then the bounce might be higher than you anticipated.
I don't think there's a rush to like position yourself here.
That's what I was about to say. That's what I was about to say. The bottom may be in, but you don't have to rush. The
other potential blow up we may see is like some sort of minor capitulation. Miners have been selling. I'm looking at this right now. Today was the biggest miner exodus out of wallets since like January 2021. So miners have already been selling more than they have for a very long time, and price is still where it's at. So that's encouraging to me. They would have to sell at a much greater clip to have some sort of effect that they haven't already had, So what else is left? I don't know.
Quantum computing.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. Well, this is interesting.
Binance, I guess Binance, like if Binance explodes, I guess it's over too. But like, what are the odds on that?
Yeah, I guess you could get some regulatory hammer on a multinational scale.
Well, I expect some sort of. I mean, it's been how many years? Like, just call all this nonsense unregistered security.
Well, I think it'd be like CBDCs combined with like outlawing stuff in a very strong way.
I'd be worried. Anything that looks like FTT, I would be concerned about, aka BNB. Any exchange token, I would be, if I was heavily allocated, I would be concerned about that position with the expectation of regulatory risk there. Even if you're abroad, like it doesn't matter. I think there's going to be the hammer is going to come down on that stuff for sure. Stablecoins, I think, are okay at the moment. I don't have too much risk.
You're not a Tether fudder today.
I just looked. Tether's back above $1. Where's all the headlines, right? I saw zero headlines. I saw a headline yesterday about Tether loans. I'm not going to hear like standing up to bat it for Tether or anything, but the market's telling me, yeah, Tether's fine. It's back above $1.
Tether market cap is down off the top.
Yeah. I'd expect that
20%.
to be lower.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise you if more stablecoins left the ecosystem if they can earn 4% in treasuries.
Well, the thing that's tricky about stablecoins is over the years, they're being used as currencies abroad, like in emerging markets. So they may just never, they may just chill at those levels, kind of outside of our realm in trading.
Yeah. These 30-year rates have finally bucked a trend, set in some kind of localized top. Have you noticed that? You think the market is starting to price in slower rate growth on the long end of the curve?
Yeah, I mean, Powell, speaking of aliens that got abducted or whatever, Powell yesterday was like, yeah, maybe I don't want to crash the economy. Maybe we do want to slow down. This summer, it would be appropriate to start thinking about that and discussing that. And
I think when I look around, I feel like buying power is way down, and they're acting behind the curve already.
Yeah, they've been. I mean, they were late.
I think they've already smashed a lot of the demand and hype and stuff. Personally, but I could be
wrong. If you want to blame anybody for all this mess, blame FTX. Blame the Fed. We've had zero rates for 10 years, right? So that pushes money to places that wouldn't otherwise be.
Yeah. And then when they start raising it, it's like 75 a go. It's like you could have been doing 25 for a year and a half pretty safely.
Yeah.
And you didn't. And then now you're just like, oh, 25, 50, 75, 75, 75, 75. It's like, come on, man. You don't even know the impact of this.
Yeah, that's why we really got to hope. If you're bullish risk assets, you got to hope CPI is continuing to come down.
Yeah, we only looked at the S&P. When you look across markets, I mean, the NASDAQ has not done terribly, but when you look across like actual assets in the markets, like tech assets, I mean, they got just as obliterated as crypto.
More so. I mean, PayPal. Yeah. Look at PayPal. Look at Disney. Look at what's another good one? Zoom. Look at all the stay-at-home darlings.
Yeah.
Decimated.
Yeah. Disney's kind of brutal in it because that was one where it was like streaming was what's going to be good for your stock. And now they got all these subscribers and streaming, and people are like, yeah, streaming business sucks. And they're like, if only you just had that parks revenue and that sweet, dividend reliability, and you weren't wasting all this money on your streaming empire. It's like, man, these narratives change fast. That's been an interesting one. And Iger came back. Did you see that?
I did. These movies lately, like the $400 million for like a movie is insane.
Yeah, and they're not making a ton of money,
and they're not recouping those funds. So like, yeah, I wish the movie industry luck, but
yeah. Yeah, so that down the line risk I've found interesting. One other thing I wanted to point out was, along with what we're seeing in rates and what we're seeing in other stuff, I'm really interested in what the gold market is doing.
Is 2023 gold's year?
Look at this.
Probably not.
But this would be like, everybody was so bullish, including us, first quarter of 2022, and it just got obliterated. And then now, like, is that the fake out that gold needed before the moon? This looks quite good.
Yeah, I don't know. Gold is so screwy with, like, if we think rehypothecation is bad for BTC, it's infinitely worse for metals.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows what's going on there?
I'm just saying it's had a positive response off all of this. And look at that 200-day moving average. If gold goes up out of this, you honestly should see BTC participate as well outside of the internal struggles of the market, which would be more indicative that a bottom is in. Doppel in the chat says we like the shiny rocks.
Yeah,
is crypto also a shiny rock? Because I kind of consider it one.
If FTX doesn't blow up, we could be at 30K.
Yeah.
100%.
I think gold looks good.
Is that the trade of the stream? Gold?
No.
After all this, we looked at every crypto chart imaginable, and Boomer Ledger goes to gold.
No, I just think gold looks good, but it gives me more confidence in the ETH trade. Right? Ultrasound money.
I guess. Somebody said, and I agree, that ETH could be declared a security. That would kind of blow everything up. Yeah, look, I'm an anarchist, so bring it on, baby.
I'm an anarchist.
Love it.
Wow,
Love
Silver. Thanks. Shout out to who said it? Steve in the chat said Silver is the best chart in the room. Hey, it did it in the 70s, baby. Let's do it again. Silver just does stupid things in inflationary periods. Give me that $50+ silver again.
So here's the lessons in
barely a 2x. Come on.
Today. Trust nobody. Don't especially centralize anything. Anything attached to any centralized anything. Be careful. That includes anything in the Solana ecosystem, certainly. Self-custody where you can. Don't lose it all in one trade.
This is not financial advice.
Oh, for sure. Never
would be.
I don't
That's
think
all we know.
Else to say. Just,
Thanks for being here. It's good to see you. We are happy to be back.
Yeah.
And we're happy to be with you here in the chat on the listening realm of things. Like us on YouTube, whatever. See you later. Bye-bye.
Monuments crumble in the blink of an eye. The easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards, I feel the breeze wound so tight I can barely breathe. Oh, the chains